guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome to those of you just joining for the first time. Thank you for joining me for another vlog, and I have to give all praise and thanks to God that I am recording this vlog, because the week that I'm recording this, so this is a week before you guys are seeing it, has been a tough one. I've been in a lot of pain, not feeling myself completely, just tiredness, and that meant I've been sleeping a lot, and it also means that my motivation for recording has been very low. But I thank God because He's helped me to be motivated to be able to record, and also giving me what to talk about as well for this vlog, with the help of two of my friends and my sisters as well. So I have to thank God for them and for using them just to say little things that made an idea come to mind. So I hope you guys will be blessed and encouraged by it, and I hope it comes at the right time for someone.
That's how my story goes. It took a long time. Only God knows, but it's alright, but it's okay, because I'm here to.
So I spoke about family situations and how everything is starting to get better. I know I've been mentioning this a lot, but as I keep saying in all of my vlogs, it's because it's still a prominent thing, and it's still something that I'm sort of struggling with still a little bit. Well, no, let me not say a little bit. I think that's the problem that I've been having by saying a little bit, but I've still been struggling with quite a bit. And then I can't remember what morning it was, whether this was Tuesday last week or maybe Monday last week. Yeah, maybe Monday or Tuesday, so towards the beginning of last week, when you guys are seeing this, I don't know, I was praying, and I felt like things were good, like in terms of everything going on with my family. I felt like I felt good. I was like, yeah, I think I've conquered this, I've gotten over it, and yeah, I don't need any help with it anymore. I think I'm good. I'm just getting on with life. I feel happy, I feel joyous, everything seems to be going pretty well. And then I started praying, so I had finished my devotion in the morning. I found myself just crying, and I was like, why am I crying? I was confused, I was frustrated, I was annoyed. I'm like, why am I crying? And then kind of when I started to think about it more, I started to think about why I was crying, and it's kind of images and I don't know, thoughts and feelings from what's been happening with my family started to come up, and I started to feel very overwhelmed. I hadn't disclosed this to you guys before, but I have been looking into counselling for kind of the stuff that's going on with my family, because as much as I like to downplay it, it has been a big thing and it's taken its toll on me, just being completely honest. So I have been looking into counselling for quite a while now, since it first began, and under the kind of instruction of my older sister Keisha and her husband Kirk, I've kind of been looking for counselling, because for me, I'm not really good with asking people for help. I kind of try to do it by myself, so they kind of encouraged me to look into it. But as I said, at this point where I was like, yeah, everything's going so well, I was like, I don't need the counselling and stuff. And then rewind back, when that moment came, when I was in during my devotion time, and I started crying, and I actually had to admit to God, I was like, God, I actually thought that I had actually conquered this. I thought I had gotten over it, and to the point that I was like, I think I'm fine, I don't actually need the help. And just being in that moment, in that time when I was with God, I've realized to myself, no, Chelsea, you're not okay, you're not completely okay. You've been suppressing stuff, and it's stuff that I was actually talking to Natalie about, because I've mentioned in previous vlogs that I have a prayer call with Natalie and another one of my friends, Vimbai, and so we had a prayer call on the Wednesday last week. And when I was speaking to Natalie, and I said to her, I feel like I've been pushing down emotion a lot. Like, I make sure that I just distract myself with other things so that I don't feel like I have to ask for help, because I'm like, yeah, but I can do it by myself. As long as I flood my mind with other things, I know that I'm good, like I feel good, I feel happy. And as I said, in that particular moment during devotion, and when I started to cry, God made me realize, Chelsea, you haven't dealt with it properly. and you do need help. And it's something that I hate to hear. I actually hate to hear that I'm going to have to ask someone else for help. And it's not because I particularly hate asking for help, but it's more so because I don't like to be a burden on other people. And I know, especially when all of my health issues started, that's exactly what I felt like I was becoming, especially to my family. Because it would be, I couldn't do certain things, so I'd be like, oh, Rianne, could you get this for me? Or Lauren, could you do this for me? Or I'd say to my mum, could you, I need help with this. And I know when I was at probably one of my like lowest and hardest parts, I remember I was even struggling to do like basic things, like the exhaustion was ridiculous. So just stuff like helping me get out of bed, making myself breakfast was very difficult. So even asking for help in that situation and in those kind of circumstances was really hard, because I don't like to burden people. And then also I kind of, more so now, I never used to be like this when I was younger, but more so now, I like being the one to help other people. So when I can't help other people, I get frustrated with myself, and I'm like, but why can't I help other people? And yeah, I don't know. And I think slyly it's a kind of a pride issue. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think it is a pride issue, because I also started, when that kind of thought and when I started crying, as I said, came about, and I was like, yeah, I actually think I do need help because I'm not dealing with things properly. I also started to think about in terms of like work situation as well, like I spoke about in my previous vlog. And I realized that I actually need help with that. Like, I feel like for myself, I always feel that I have to do it by myself. Like, I'm like, I have to do this by myself. I have to do this by myself. I look weak if I'm asking for help, kind of thing. And it's actually something that me and Rianne were talking about. Actually, the day that I'm recording this, we were actually talking about it in the morning, which is why I said my friends and my family were making things come up in my mind. And me and Rianne were saying that this is something that we both struggle with. And I apologise, Rianne, if you didn't want me to disclose that, but it's too late now. But we were kind of talking about this and saying how when it comes to asking for help, we really do struggle with it. Because we want it to be that we can say, you know what, I've been a good Christian, I have been faithful, I've been just relying on God all the time, and now I'm doing amazingly and stuff. But we have to realize that God puts people in our lives too, people that can help us. And it's something that I'm battling with, something that I'm trying to really work on. And one of my friends has really been trying to help me to understand that, and really trying to help me grasp that aspect that I can speak to people about it. And yeah, I'm really trying to work on that. So when I was thinking about this and I prayed about it today whilst I'm recording it, a verse came into mind, and I think I kind of slightly alluded to it in one of my other vlogs, but I want to focus on it today. And it's taken from Hebrews 4 verse 16, and it says, "Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need." And the reason why I wanted to share this one with you guys is because, like I said, I can be a person that really struggles to ask for help when I need it. And that kind of even spills over to my relationship with God. That sometimes I'm afraid to ask God for help. And now that I'm saying it to you guys, it sounds so weird. And maybe you guys can resonate with this a little bit. Maybe you are a person like me who is a complete control freak. So when it's asking God for help, you find it very difficult. But this verse, and also kind of going backwards a bit, even starting from verse 14 in Hebrews 4, it kind of is talking about Jesus being our high priest and how he helps us through things. And when I was kind of, as I said, focused on this one, and it says about coming boldly to the throne of grace so that you obtain mercy, you're gonna find grace in your time of need. And these are things that we all want. These are things that we crave for. Me at least. I would just talk for myself, but I'm assuming that we all want this. But when it comes to it, we really shy away from asking God for help. But this verse just reminds us that we can ask, we can be bold in our prayers. If it's just a simple thing, God, I can't do this by myself, help me. And I think sometimes we take those small prayers for granted. We think that we have to have these lavish prayers. But I know definitely during that time when I said that I started crying in my devotion time, I definitely just said that. I literally couldn't say anything else. I felt so overwhelmed. I felt so much pressure that all I could say was, God, please help me. And sometimes that is boldness in and of itself. The fact that we recognize that we need help and we go straight to God. But I also want to even go further and say that it is so important to recognize that God also places people in our lives to help us through things as well. But adding on to that, make sure that you're praying over the people that you're seeking counsel from. I know that I've been in situations, I think this is previously to actually starting my relationship with God properly, that I would ask people for advice, and there have been some people that never gave like the correct advice, or would give me advice that actually made things worse off rather than better for me. So I would say definitely cover people that you're going to ask for help from. But most importantly, I pray that you will start your journey and your looking for help with God, because ultimately God knows the end from the beginning, and ultimately God is the one that can truly help. I'm not saying that there won't be people put in place to help with certain things, like when we're sick, God puts doctors in place, nurses in place, other medical staff in place to help us. But even with them, we should be covering them with prayer, because God knows best. God is the greatest helper we could ever ask for. So if you're like me, I guess what I want to kind of leave you guys with, if you're like me and you find it hard to ask for help, you find it hard to even ask for help from God, I pray that it sounds negative when I say it this way, but I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. But I pray that you'll be humble enough to say, you know what, God, I can't do this by myself. I don't know the answer to everything. And when things are getting on top of me, when I feel stressed out, when I feel overwhelmed, I know that I can release that burden to you, because no burden that I could ever face could ever be bigger than you, Lord. And as I said, sometimes that coming boldly to God is just in asking, God, I cannot do this by myself. Please help me to do this. So whatever it is you're facing, I pray that you may take it to God first and foremost, that you will allow the people in your lives that God has placed to help you, to be open with them, to be honest with them. And by the grace of God, you will start to see things open up. You will start to see things start to shift in your favor. And that might not happen automatically. It might not happen straight away, as I've said in many, many vlogs, because it's true. But know this, that it will happen. God is moving even now. But he will not force himself on you. He will not force himself into a situation and help you when you do not ask for his help, because God doesn't want to be forceful. God loves you too much to be forceful. And just like our loved ones in our lives, they will never, well, some of them will maybe quite forceful. But I know for myself, if someone doesn't need my help, as much as I really want to help them, I will not try to force myself on them. And God is the same way. And if I would do that for someone I love, how much more will God be that way too? Because he loves you more than I could ever love any of my family or friends. But you must be willing to allow God to help you. And when God helps you, there will be so much relief. There will honestly will be. And as I said, I am not saying this because I do it perfectly, because the whole reason I'm saying this vlog, the whole reason why I'm talking about this is because I'm not very good at it. But I pray that just as it will be my almost challenge for myself, that I pray it will be a challenge to someone here today that is watching that needs to also do this. That you will not be afraid to ask for help, especially when it comes to asking for help from God. So I'll leave you with this. Go to the throne of grace and pray those bold prayers, and his mercy, his grace will be there in your time of need. But I hope you guys were blessed and encouraged by this vlog today, and Before I finish off, I would just like to thank all of you that watched my latest short on YouTube, and I have to give glory to God because it has done really well. And it's not even so much the views for me, but the views just allow me to know and see that people are watching, and people hopefully will learn more about God. So if that is what happens, I would be just so grateful. It's not about me, it's about him. But I thank you guys for supporting, and I pray that once again you guys were blessed, and I will see you in 2 weeks time. But remember, my short comes out next week Tuesday by the grace of God. I'll see you guys then. Bye.
But it's alright, but it's okay.